Welcome to NWA Investing Podcast, episode 41. Thank you guys for tuning in. We have Brandon Still, Brian Wagers, and myself. Thank you guys for continuing to tune in. Our next episode, please stay tuned for episode 42 as we have a great commercial investor, agent, broker here locally that's going to come on the show and give us some great knowledge. So here is what we're going to talk about a little bit. We're going to talk about some emerging trends in the market. We're going to say like some advice that we would give to investors looking in this market. And then I love this question. We're going to end the podcast with this is if you could shape the future of real estate in Northwest Arkansas, what would you prioritize? So be thinking of that as we're talking. Brandon, what trends do you see and do you think will dominate in the near future? Do you think that affordable housing is going to be something that Northwest Arkansas focuses on? Do you think big apartment complexes, is that a trend? What would your opinion be on that?
Yeah, I know each city's got a plan for what they're wanting to do. And it sounds like Rogers is doing a really good job on their plan overall. But I think from what I'm seeing, I don't really know how to address the affordable housing thing, honestly.
There is a huge need for affordable housing.
There is a huge need for it.
And I don't know if it's like that's a big shaping. That's like a global question. Like how do we shape Northwest Arkansas?
I have an opinion on if we want to help affordable housing and housing in general, then we need to get rid of red tape for builders. Get rid of red tape for builders and incentivize builders to build with tax incentives. That would be my opinion.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of that over the next 4 years. A lot of regulation changes maybe, and a lot more tax benefits rolling back out from the previx administration, stuff like that. We can get into that later as well.
Yeah, that could be a whole episode.
We're seeing tax benefits in Texas. They're starting to implement that.
Really?
You have some groups around here that are doing kind of incentives to keep rents lower. Like they'll give you a grant or they'll give you some money. You have Groundwork, which is one of the Walton's foundations, and their whole initiative is affordable housing. But even that has a bunch of red tape. Currently 100% has to be a nonprofit or 100% affordable. They're still piecing that together. So I think NWA is really ahead of the game by thinking about it now, like before it becomes like a major issue.
Yep.
Like compared to these other cities, I just saw yesterday that Arkansas was still the most affordable place. That is the number one state as far as most affordable. Obviously, you have rural areas that bring that average down. But if you look at
Real rural.
you have some area, but like even as NWA, if you take another city with 500,000 in population and you look at that, point at that in different areas around the U.S., the affordability here is still amazing compared to any other relative metro size.
Did you guys see what Fayetteville rolled out recently? They put a cap on the application fees for the renting process. It's $40 now.
Interesting.
Like as opposed to before, I don't think there was a cap. So I think there's differing opinions. I've heard Kyle Atkins, he's been on our episode a few times, say like there's of course like to the eye for renters like that's good, but then if you're a property manager, it's like there's those fees are there for a reason, like.
Generally, the less government involvement, the better, in my opinion. Let the market dictate that. I mean, like you said, make it more incentivizing for builders to build. So a renter isn't forced to live in one place. They have a lot of options in Northwest Arkansas. They don't have to live in this apartment. If that renter, application fee is $40, then maybe they'll go over here if that's a kill,
Yeah,
that's totally. So small thinking, like $40, $50, $60, like the fact that they're thinking even that small, we have to be thinking about bigger stuff, tax incentives, lower red tape, if you really want to affect affordability or even incentive, there was this development in Bentonville that actually got turned down, and it was all geared towards Bentonville school district teachers, Bentonville fire department, and Bentonville police department.
Yeah.
So it was funny that it got turned down because like that's the whole initiative. But Arvest was pushing that. But that was an interesting one to see. But on the other side of the token, you don't want it to be too like as residents of Northwest Arkansas, we already seen the traffic uptick a little bit.
Yes.
I mean, it could be that it is December, people are doing their last minute Christmas shopping, so that adds to the flurry. But I've definitely noticed, more congestion.
For sure.
So you want to be careful of that congestion and not just having to put roundabouts. And I think what's really cool, we're very lucky to have, like, people can complain about it all they want, but we're very lucky to have the Waltons and the Walmart family. They're investing so much back in here. And we had them at a meeting recently, and they're not worried about return on investment as much anymore. They're in a nice place to where they don't have to be so concerned about ROI. They would rather make less money and have more green space. Quality of life is huge for them, and they want to keep Bentonville cool. They want to keep Northwest Arkansas cool. They're developing more in here, so you have to take a grain of salt. Like, yes, as a builder, as an investor, let's build as many as we can. Like, let me do my project, but at the same time, you don't want it to be overbuilt, because then you're devaluing your current investments. You're lowering the barrier to entry. So there is definitely two sides of the token. It's not just make NWA more affordable or let us build more. There's always some caveat, and I think NWA is doing a good job on it. And be interesting to talk about what city is the easiest to deal with. I've been hearing Fayetteville has been very hard to deal with as far as like any kind of new development. Springdale has been awesome. Been working with Patsy Christie over there on the planning committee.
Shout out Patsy.
Rogers has been good, but Bentonville is obviously hard.
Everyone I've talked to in the city of Rogers has been like the nicest person ever.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, honey, can I help you out in any way possible?" Like, "Oh, you just sound so sweet." And like Fayetteville, they're like, "What do you want?"
Yeah,
like
100%.
And Bella Vista is tough too. Bella Vista is tough, but I've heard the same sort of trends. You made a lot of great points.
Last episode we were talking about this, but what did we land on for downtown Rogers? The word you started with
I think
gritty.
I landed with the word
Gritty.
Gritty is a good word for downtown Rogers.
Gritty. I'm
not the
thinking like
dance,
someone who's
but
like on like a little edgy, like ready get their boots
I think
dirty.
edgy is a little bit on the edge side is downtown Rogers. That's a better word. That is a better word. So let's jump to this. Advice for investors. What makes Northwest Arkansas a great place What makes Northwest Arkansas a great place as a real estate investor to invest? Like someone listening to this out of state. Let's just give a few sentences each guy on that.
We talked about the affordability. It is huge. The growth here is amazing. You have 3 Fortune 500 companies: Walmart, Tyson Foods, JB Hunt, all recession-resistant industries. When you're going into any city, you have flight risk that one of the major employers is going to leave, but all those 3 companies, their owners invest in the area, so they're doing the opposite. Walmart, 10 years ago said, you have to have a home office here if you're going to sell into us. That's adding tremendous growth. So you have these other large corporations, and it's still a nice place to live. You have a stickiness to the market. People come here and work for Procter & Gamble and do their 3-year stint, but they fall in love with Beaver Lake. They fall in love with the Razorbacks. They fall in love with all the cool food places, and they stay here. So you have this population growth that's staying, and it's a nice place.
A lot of the kids that are going to university stick around. They're coming up from Texas, and they're going, it's affordable. I like it. It's not as populated as Dallas or Houston or Austin. Let's stay here. So a lot of these kids are coming up here, and then their parents are. I just moved in 3 kids to my place, and they're like, and I was talking with each individual parent. They're like, Fayetteville's pretty awesome. I think we want to invest there. Yeah. So like it's a great place.
You get the parents' kids. Parents moving here at University of Arkansas, I think, was the 8th fastest growing university last year. So pretty crazy.
Attendance continues to break records there, but I think you
crisis.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you hit everything on the head there. I think there's clarity of what this area is going to be, and everything is in line to do that. And those big companies that are really backing it, or they have been clear on their investment here and their want to stay here and all that kind of stuff. And so when you have those kind of scenarios, we always, when we first started this podcast, we always talked about like NWA being kind of bulletproof from everything else happening around the country. And it feels like it really has been that way as long as I've been alive. But I think we will continue to be that way. Maybe at some point when we hit that population that they talk about, we'll eventually flatline. it's inevitable, right? But until
hopefully
then,
at that point, all of us, our insert in the market is now and before, and we get to there, and it's like doesn't really matter. We have such equity position and things that
exactly. So
let's wrap this up with, if you could shape the future of real estate in Northwest Arkansas, what would you prioritize? Brandon, have you thought about that? Is there something that you would prioritize if you could shape the future of real estate in Northwest Arkansas?
Man,
it's a kind of a broad question. It's almost like we could spend 30 minutes on it, but maybe a little bit.
Yeah, that's like such a broad question. And who are you asking? We're on the NWA Investing Podcast, so let's just assume we're all investors here. I would say making real estate more accessible to the average person, someone who's climbing the corporate ladder at Procter & Gamble. We're not going to tell you, hey, you need to drop that and go buy some single family homes. We're telling you that NWA is a good place to invest, and real estate is the best vehicle to invest. One of the best vehicles. We love businesses here. We're all entrepreneurs too. But I think for myself, I would say making it more accessible to invest, helping people get more excited about it, understanding investing, and that's one of the reasons why we have this this podcast is one of the first steps in doing that, is listening to these episodes, getting ideas, getting takeaways from each one. So I think that would be my goal for NWA, is making it more accessible to the person who wants to become a full-time real estate investor, to the person that's climbing the corporate ladder that wants to invest in real estate locally too.
I completely agree. I would say I see a lot of, you and I probably do, a lot of first-time home buyers really struggling right now to find stuff. I would, my tender-hearted part goes I really would like to see it be easier for those guys to find home, because they're struggling right now. $100,000 doesn't go as far as it used to, and so making it more affordable is it's hard, because with the nature of growth and the projectability of this area, things are just going to kind of go up. So I think combating inflation is big, I guess, nationally on a macro scale to help that. But I think we should get some more of that the next 4 years, depending on how the tariff thing goes. That's a whole nother podcast.
My advice to those first-time home buyers is not to think of it as your forever home. I think that's what's catching up some of these. Do what you guys are doing, living in these and then rolling into the next one. Yes, it's your first-time home. You're really excited. We want to get it nice, everything, but look at it as an investment, and even if you're not a real estate investor, look at it as an investment towards your dream home. You scale that up into your dream home. That first time home is very exciting, but use that to your advantage. Get the 3.5% down. Get the creative financing and get a house that may have been on the market for a little bit longer. Than find those different areas that. Yeah, these people didn't like it because they wanted it their first time home. But that quartz countertop, is such an easy example. But the over finishes, those ROIs aren't as high as just getting in that home and start building that equity.
Yep, exactly. It should be just a vehicle for you when you're thinking about a first time home buyer. And my advice would be find the best location possible that you're in a property that you feel safe. Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Time is money too. I mean, I think I recommend for people live, if you're not working from home, live close to where you're working, because when we're investing, when you're building and growing, that commute, that's a big time value. So I think getting close to where you're going to be is super important.
We have an interesting perspective here in Northwest Arkansas, because driving 40 minutes to Rogers is something normal for us. Talking with my brother-in-law who lives in Vienna, Austria, Vienna is 40 minutes from him, and he said, I never go to Vienna. He's to go eat or something, go to dinner, we never drive that far. And talking with people all throughout the country, they're driving 40 minutes for dinner, why would I drive 40 minutes? Because a lot of these, Houston, Austin, Dallas, they have a central hub, and then it goes out from there. Northwest Arkansas, we just we go up and down a main vein. There's no skyscrapers. It's a different feel building wise to the downtowns than a lot of other areas in the country. So we're a little bit more spread out. So it is nice to be close. You have multiple spots you can have affordability. There is even affordable stuff that has a Bentonville address. It's not going to be Bentonville downtown. There's affordable stuff in Rogers, Springdale, Centerton, Pea Ridge, Bella Vista. I love Bella Vista. Fayetteville. I mean, heck, I don't know why West Fork hasn't been more developed than it is. With just south of Fayetteville. I mean, I think that's a potential building spot for the future. I mean, it's super beautiful too. So I just think there's
Farmington,
Prairie Grove. I mean, Farmington, and Prairie Grove are. There's a lot of building permits that were just approved for that area, and for good reason. So we hope that provided you guys with some value. That was episode 41. Thank you guys for tuning in. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Love you guys.